The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. A's baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko of the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Nancy Finley, one of the co-hosts, is going to join us in a moment. Michael Duca is here, filling in for the vacationing, cruising Jerry Feitelberg. Michael, thank you for pinch hitting, as it were.
As it were, I will say honestly, it's a cold day in hell when I can actually fill in for Jerry. The closest I can come since he's on a cruise is that I just ate way too much for breakfast.
Ah, okay. You're cooking. You're preparing a great dinner. And it's right between Christmas and New Year's. Fill us in on what's going on with you.
Well, when your kids grow up, they face that awful choice that you and I faced when we were younger of which family do you spend which part of the day with, and how many Christmas dinners can you shovel into your body in one day. And we just decided many, many years ago that was unfair to everybody involved. Most especially the kids, asking them to try and make a choice like that. So we don't Christmas on Christmas. We movie on Christmas. We did 5 movies this year on Christmas Day, and we Christmas later in the week when the kids are all together. None of them have children of their own yet, so we don't have to adhere to the strict Santa schedule, and so here we are. Everybody said they could come over today. I suspect it was to help us celebrate our wedding anniversary, but it turns out that it's also our Christmas celebration.
Well, happy anniversary. How long has it been, Michael?
It's been 21 years, and as I told my wife this morning, they've changed some of the automatic gifts that you're supposed to have. So for 21st anniversary, it's now the sawdust and automatic ice cream maker anniversary, and we have a good supply of both of those in the house right now.
Nice. And the weather, we're in California weather. For those of you who are not, I am very sorry for you, because I'm looking at the map, and the weather map has been brutal all across the country.
Man, a friend of mine posted the weather forecast for 7 a.m. New Year's morning, Eastern Standard Time. At 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on New Year's morning, including wind chill, it will be minus 36 in Montreal, 10 in Charlotte, 39 in Jacksonville, 27 in New Orleans, 26 in Houston, and 62 in San Francisco.
Interesting. My buddy from New York, who I grew up with, Marty Rose, who's a host on the Mets show, Yankee show on this network, he moved to Florida not a year or so ago, maybe 2 years now.
Well, he was termed out in New York, wasn't he?
Pardon me?
He was turned out in New York. He had to move to Florida. That's the state law there, isn't it?
Well, it's in the Jewish law. All Jews have to move to Florida.
It's sort of a reverse diaspora.
Exactly. Exodus for the better, I guess. But he didn't move to southern Florida. He moved to Jacksonville, and he's already had an incredible tornado. Haven't talked to him yet this week. I'm wondering, how is he prepared? Did he throw away his winter clothes?
Who's there?
It's crazy. The whole country has gone through every step. We've had floods. We've had fires. Knock wood, there's been no earthquake.
Are we still having fires?
There's Nancy Finley joining us.
We are still having fires, Nancy. Hi, this is Michael.
Hi. Nice to meet
Hi.
you.
Yeah, we're still having fires. The big fire down in Ventura County is about 94% contained now. The containment just means that they've cut a line around it. It will burn for another week or two inside the line.
Wow.
Amazing. In December.
Nancy, if you don't know, Michael is the daughter of Carl Finley and the niece of Charlie Finley, and a co-hostess.
And I have a book out called Finley Ball.
Yeah.
As well you
A
should.
book signing at the Hall of Fame in August.
So we're talking about,
you're doing better
we have
than I
two
did.
authors here. Michael has a book out. You've got a book out. I just want to tell you how accomplished that what an accomplished thing that is for you. To be in the Library of Congress. When I was a kid growing up, my uncle would take me to the New York City Public Library, and the big lions are out in front, and we go in, and there's files and files. It's a Dewey Decimal System, and he'd tell me all these stories about how just writing something, you're there for history, for life. It's what you accomplished.
I've always
Proud
wanted
of both of you. That's really cool to have you both on.
to see that library.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry?
I've always wanted to see that library. Oh.
Oh, yeah, you got.
It's
you
as
got to get
impressive
back.
as you
I'm
think it
surprised
is.
you didn't ever travel with the team.
I did, but not not far away like that. It was, and we did more in Kansas City when I was really little and just ran up and down. But that's right, Dad. I never went to Cooperstown with Dad on business, and he probably thought I would be bored. That's a long drive too from the airport.
It is.
It's so yes, but it's so worth it. I was chosen as for their speaker series or author series for 2017, and it was and I was so anxious I wanted to meet expectations, and it was wonderful. It was just a fantasy.
Nancy, do you know that Michael is an official scorer with both the Giants and the A's?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
He's very accomplished.
Guilty as charged.
Amongst other things, he's an author himself. So you have a lot to talk about. I'm going to leave it to Michael, never having met Nancy. If you would ask her anything you'd like to know about the Finleys.
Yes.
She's as open as any human I've met, not just in her writings, in our communique. She'll tell it like it is. Anything you're curious about?
Well, there is one quirky little question I have, yes.
Yes.
Did you ever go shopping with your dad at Sam Clark's?
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry? You did?
Yeah. Was that near the Coliseum?
Yes, that was the used furniture place that your uncle told him he had to go to buy office furniture.
Yes, I remember Dad would take me to several warehouse-like places around the Coliseum. I didn't always know the names of where we were going. Actually, there was one place in downtown Oakland, Berkovich and Son. Dad was friends with the Berkovich family. But I remember Dad taking me to places around the Coliseum.
Yeah, the Berkovich family was pretty well known in Oakland. The scion of that family was on the Oakland Coliseum Commission for many years.
Oh, okay. I remember the dad, Sam, and just going by to say hi, and Dad would talk, and we would go to there. Sometimes they would have holiday gatherings we would attend.
So, what was Christmas like at Uncle Charlie's?
Oh, well, Sir de la Salle am I saying that correct, would be before the divorce. A lot of shouting, running everywhere, and then after the divorce, he actually liked to travel, but he went out of his way to decorate. It was his bachelor pad, but he had a heart-shaped driveway, and his house looked like out of Gone with the Wind. But he had a barn built with a big F on the side and stained glass windows. One window was the cover of Time, and the other was the logo with the baseball that says A's. And then he had a regular barn. But he would put up Christmas decorations all around that barn. And when I visited one March, he said, let's go finish taking the decorations down. I mean, I was amazed at how far he went for Christmas. But at that time, he was single and really didn't want to be around for Christmas.
And this was in LaPorte, Indiana?
Yes. He stayed in LaPorte, but he also had a place in Chicago on Lake Michigan. I guess it was Lakeshore Avenue.
Have you talked on the show about what happened to that home in LaPorte?
Which one? They had two.
Well, I'm thinking of the one that has taken on a completely different second life.
Well, there was the one they had. I remember when I was little, with my mother, we would visit in the summer, and when Dad was traveling with the team with Uncle Charlie, and that's the one that our players would go to for barbecues if they were playing in Chicago. Then there was the one he had after the divorce, and they were both in LaPorte. So are you talking about the one during the marriage that had the big A on the side?
I'm talking about the one that wound up being a convent.
That could have been,
I think it's the second one.
Is that what? Okay, I am not surprised knowing what I know. That's the one I stayed at. He flew me back because he got lonely, but yet when I was back there, he had a lot of friends who came by, and he always had a girlfriend. But yes, that's the one. I have pictures of all around that house.
One can only imagine what kind of ghosts the sisters are experiencing in that house.
I know. So I've heard. Gosh, I heard that's a comment. I'll tell you one story. Charlie had to be in Chicago one night, and I had my young son with me, Doug. And he always had a caretaker who lived on the grounds, but he had a big sign in front of the house that said, no alarm, worry owner instead, or something like that, with a picture of a gun. That concerned me. And he gave part-time jobs to convicts who would come up, be bussed up to his property. And one night, there was a convict working at that time, but it was a full moon, and my son wanted a soda. And those weren't in the refrigerator. They were at a vending machine in the barn. So we had to walk along a path to get there. And I just remember it reminded me of one of those scary movies. No one, I mean, nothing. You didn't see a car drive by, nothing. And I just remember running as fast as I could with my son to get back to the big house.
So you were shaking the soda, in other words?
Yes. Yes. I made sure I opened it in the sink. But it was fun. There were, I remember, two lakes. The house was in the middle of two lakes. Big swan. There was a big black swan that people were told to watch out for. And he had Arabian horses, a regular barn with all kinds of chickens. And then he had, when we arrived, he had his garages in the back, and that's where everyone went in. When we arrived, my son fell in love with a goat walking around the property, and Uncle Charlie said he could let it inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
So Doug thought, oh, this is great. And the goat really didn't want to be coddled. So the next morning, we're looking for the goat, and it's up on top of rafters in the barn. It's like it was trying to get away. And I could not figure out how that goat got up there. There wasn't a ladder, nothing. And I could tell people, everyone was humoring Doug. They seemed concerned. I know they had seen that happen before. But it was, but then one day Uncle Charlie suggested we thin out the hen house. That was just something that's fun to do. He was always wanting to do something fun.
Did the team ever come back and party on holidays or whatever? Was there any of that?
Not that I heard, because again, he was being single. He went out a lot, and he flew out here quite often. He would fly out here if he had a new girlfriend, and he would want to meet at Skoma's in San Francisco. That was his favorite place. And when she went to the woman's room, he would ask us what we thought. That was cute.
Yeah.
I like that.
You were his family, really, especially after the divorce. Yes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
He hadn't had time to really, you have family, but then you have family that you stay in touch with.
Right. But, yeah, you were the ones he stayed in touch with, through the team, I'm sure.
Yeah, oh, yes, his parents were, that's the whole reason he was in LaPorte, because his dad had to move there from Alabama to continue work in the steel mills. They were laying off.
So if he's from Alabama, having a goat in the house is no big stretch.
Oh. Yes. Yes. And he loved animals. He had peacocks that would come out every day at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
I have a picture of one. He did, and that's why there was the petting zoo at the stadium in Kansas City. And I know families loved that. They would.
Nancy, I vaguely remember something about a mule.
Oh, our mascot. Yes, our mascot.
Vaguely, huh?
We were thinking
and a mechanical rabbit.
Harvey, yes, named after the Jimmy Stewart movie.
Uh-huh.
But Harvey was first, and then in '65, the governor of Missouri gave us a mule because we had the petting zoo, and people were always giving us animals. So when the mule was given to us, and it was tall, it was taller than most horses. That's when Uncle Charlie said, well, why not make this our mascot? So that's how it happened.
Wow.
And then,
hey, I've got something to interject.
Mm-hmm.
Did Charlie know that in the 30s there was a team that was experimenting with orange baseballs? I don't know if you told me that, Michael, or...
Not me.
Well, when I get to a computer, I'm gonna Google it. There was something about orange baseballs, and it still to this day makes sense. It was at the time when tennis was going from a white tennis ball to an orange.
Is that the 30s? When tennis balls? When they did that?
Well, no, in the 50s.
No,
in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, it was in the 70s.
Okay.
Right.
They went to the safety green color.
Right, and which was easier to see, and it's apparent that orange balls are easier to see. So, he was a man, and I'm not even talking about his ability to put together a baseball team.
I know.
Which has five championships in a row, 3 world championships in a row in the middle of that. Wow.
We did the scouting. We had people in the scouting department, but we did most of the scouting or made the decisions, and that's what I was used to. So, and then a trade didn't happen unless we oversaw it, or, we were told about it first.
I wish more people could have seen, came out if they had the ability to market it or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And you guys know more about that than I do. But there was some great baseball in those days. And not only that, they kept it going. They made subtle little changes each year. Epstein was the first baseman. And then they brought out Fossey to catch, and tennis played a little first. After that, they were just good at what they did on the field. I wish they could have marketed it better.
I had, yes. I updated my my son did. He added some pictures from the Catfish Hunter dedication in June. I had been sitting on these pictures because it's my family. And I have to teach myself to share pictures I have with the players. So I finally got those posted. Not everyone, but just a couple. And it's nice. It's nice, but I had to. It was difficult to do because I kept thinking, okay, I'm sharing, which is something that my family doesn't really do. They're very private. But. I wanted to ask Michael, did you remember or have you heard how long my dad was with the team?
Michael?
I don't know when he first came to the team.
When he left. He came to the team, finally, he came in the summer of 62. Although it took about almost a year actually, for Dad to decide to go from being a high school principal to baseball. They didn't know anything about baseball, but
I thought that came after he moved out to California. I had no idea that he was with them back in Kansas City.
Well, you remember what happened in August or September of 61 because of Frank Lane. So Uncle Charlie was he was put through a grinder, and that's when he flew to Dallas to meet with Dad. This would have been November, December 61, and then tickets started showing up at Love Field for a weekend, all expenses paid, for Dad to just fly to Kansas City, be with, I'm just going to say Charlie for short, just be with Charlie, and then fly back and just go back to his role as a principal by Monday morning. So I remember it was difficult on me to be without Dad for the weekend. So sometimes we went up with him, but Charlie wanted him to see what it could be like. And it wasn't until May that Dad decided to give his resignation without saying why or where he was going, because Dad probably figured he might need to come back. So, and that was he was 37 and had never lived out of Texas except during World War II. So that was a big deal. And then we had to stay back and sell our house and move up in 63. But Dad took the plunge and went up there in 62, although he didn't get a press release out till January 63 saying he joined the organization.
Right. The way from talking to you, your dad really didn't have an ego anywhere near like Charlie's, as if anybody's is.
Oh, they blended well. Oh my
God. He played downplay things. Am I correct?
Oh yes, but see, that my granddad was like Charlie, and so I don't know how this happened, but Charlie would call Granddad every day in 60, 61 to tell him what was going on with the team, get his advice. And Charlie had been with them in Texas when he was younger, when he didn't want to move to Indiana. I think his mom had to come and physically get him. But he knew that Dad had the degrees, Dad had law school. Charlie didn't finish college, and that was always an issue with him. But he was a great salesperson. And so he wanted Dad to join. Dad had never acted like he needed to be in front. But he also wanted Dad to tell him what he should say to the media. And so many times Dad would be mad after because Charlie didn't stick to the script. And Dad would say that the reporters knew how to push Charlie's buttons.
Gee, an echo of modern days.
But you know what we did? I used to ask Dad why we didn't, or were we going to defend ourselves? As I got older, when we were in the 70s, I would hear about events and ask Dad, were we going to put something out and give our side? And Dad said, no, we should take the high road. And later I thought that works in a high school setting, but you don't do that in sports. You really don't. I see.
Well, Nancy, how did you title Chapter 25 in your book, 1974? Do you remember?
Oh, my gosh. Well,
it says, kiss my ass.
What? No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God.
Did Morgan put that in there?
Yes, he did. See,
all right.
There you go.
Did a good job. You'd never, as I suspected, Morgan pulls a lot of the change. But kiss my ass, because you're getting the word out through Charlie in this thing about Ed Meal in 1960 and what have you.
That gets a lot of laughs, but I wouldn't have. See, I had that in the rough draft, but it was like a maybe, but that was my original. Oh my!
Page 155.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, you know what though? Charlie used to say that if he met a woman, sometimes he would ask if she wanted to actually sit on his ass. But that's what they call mules and donkeys.
This could be TMI.
Exactly.
It really is. And he would get
exactly.
Yes. And they call him. I mean, he got a magazine about mules and donkeys, and it says for the common people with common sense. And all through that magazine, they call them asses. So, okay, that's where that comes from.
Okay.
It goes back further than that. It goes back further. If you read your Gospels carefully, you will see that Christ rode into Jerusalem on an ass.
Is it mentioned before that?
I'm sure that it's mentioned before that. I'm sure it's mentioned all the way back in Genesis.
Okay, thank you.
But that is the common translation.
Okay, so I said it like
I just learned something, that these guys got around on animals. They didn't have to slept through the desert and bring their stuff.
If only
they got driven.
Mules are faster than burros or donkeys or asses. They are, but mules and donkeys are both slow.
Who doesn't know that? Let me just ask you, Nancy, did Charlie call the animals critters?
He may have. I've heard a lot of people call them that.
Curious.
I mean, I don't remember that being used a lot.
Because I get a lot of Ellie Mae out of the whole thing.
Coming
to real big money late and what have you, and not undeserved. Charlie created it, Michael, if you don't remember this, Charlie created health insurance or disability insurance on a group basis through the Doctors Medical Association. he was able to sell group insurance, very needed disability insurance to these doctors who, if they lost a hand, they couldn't put, they couldn't be surgeons, that type of thing. And he made a fortune doing that.
And
so,
health insurance. What a benefit to sell health insurance.
To his credit, you mentioned he's a good salesman. He sold somebody that concept. He certainly was a good salesman. So
yes, he was. And
give him a lot of credit for that.
I don't know. He didn't. Now, he wasn't out here. Dad ran everything in Oakland, physically on site. And I really don't think it would have worked if Charlie had been here all the time. You see, Charlie had to stay back there because the insurance company was where the bread and butter was. And he subsidized the team in Kansas City for the first year or two. He never would have said that to anyone. He didn't want people to know that.
No, Arnold Johnson left him a mess.
He did. Thank you. He did. And Arnold Johnson's name wasn't even mentioned till I was a teenager. I used to think it went straight from Mac to us. So, but yes, he did. And so people, I know people will ask about the players and the money situation, but he was putting his own money into it. And then he put $500,000 in to renovate that stadium that wasn't even his. So, but he made Dad, in order for Dad to change careers and take the risk of going up there, he made Dad a minority partner and able to really to run everything. I found a checking account with Dad's name in just Municipal Stadium, Kansas City, with the zip. So, and I noticed that we really didn't have business cards. And Dad and Charlie liked to change titles sometimes or tell people they were one thing. And then after a while, Dad just started, if a reporter guessed something, Dad would say, yeah, that's right, like PR director, because he was, in a way.
Right.
And then Dad put everything in the yearbooks, and sometimes he wouldn't put his name, and that was to make Charlie nervous. Because he quit a few times. He quit actually when Charlie bought the Seals, the Oakland Seals, without telling Dad, and expected them to do the same thing. And Dad quit because he told Charlie their goal was to concentrate on baseball, and this was 1970. And he said he wasn't going to spread himself thin, and Charlie still didn't do anything about it, so Dad quit. And
did you get to know some of the hockey players as family?
I didn't, because Dad didn't get close to that. I went to games there because it's right across the Coliseum, and Dad might have been over at the A's office. But I've told you this, it was real cold walking inside, and I'm from Texas. At that time, ice hockey was not big at all. And what I remember is the players would pile on top of each other in every game, and you'd see blood. And it was so different to me. I had a hard time understanding, and none of my friends were interested. I couldn't give tickets away. So, but Dad was keeping his distance because he didn't want to start liking it. He said Charlie thought that since the team was starting to do well, that we could do it with any sport. And what Charlie didn't understand was you have to keep focusing on that one sport.
Did he try to get your dad involved with the Memphis Tams?
Oh, yes. I was going to thank you for, the best. I mean, I didn't even know if I should mention that one. That was the same thing. And I noticed people have noticed that after he bought the teams, he just let the front offices go, or whatever front office there was. Yes, that's because he acquiesced to Dad. And Dad said, we need to concentrate on the team, the baseball team. And so Charlie had to sell those or, hang on to them until they would sell. So that was why nothing really came of those. Because Dad who was Charlie going to get besides Dad? It was really tough for him to find someone he could work
Someone
with.
to trust. How about that?
Yeah. Dad understood him, too. Dad knew how he would answer things, how to make him see the light. Because when Dad quit, the front office was calling us every day. It was bad.
Oh yeah, I mean,
now how long was
the
he
greatest
gone for?
skill you?
Oh, let me think. He was gone about 4 months, maybe max. And he wrote a book in that time period. He wrote a book on a typewriter, and this was before the World Series, and right about the time we didn't know it, but we were going into the playoffs. And so this book would have been about Kansas City up until the move to Oakland. Dad was given $9,000 advance by Life magazine for a percentage of that book. And then someone in Kansas City gave him about $3,000. And then Dad promised Charlie he wouldn't do anything with the book when Charlie asked him back.
Well, I'm sure that was part of the negotiation between them.
Well, you know what was the book was about Ernie Mel, and at that time Mel was still around. In fact, Mel was taking credit for the Royals coming to town, and that really would have been probably litigation. So it had a lot to do with Kansas City, and then mid Kansas City, and so but I was amazed that was even before the World Series and how we got built the team. Because
I'm curious, what did your dad plan to do if he didn't go back to the A's?
Oh, go back to either law or school administration in Texas. He wanted to become superintendent.
Okay.
He really enjoyed education. That I know that doesn't pay well now, but Dad just enjoyed teaching and was very pro public school. But he also had his law degree. I know Charlie really liked that because Dad always knew what the law was. He knew education law and labor law, and Charlie asked him to be his mediator with player contracts. Dad did that once, but then he didn't want to do it again because it was a conflict. Dad had to work with the players.
Right.
So
and he had to be related to Charlie.
Yeah, I know. I know. He just didn't want to be put in that position.
The way you said that was so yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough, and Dad could always predict what Charlie would say. So what happened was, Dad is the one who he talked Charlie into selling. Dad hired Billy Martin. Charlie stopped going to the winter meetings in '75 and gave Dad his proxy to vote. So Dad went, and in '79 he got Billy Martin to start for the '80 season. And then he told Charlie it was time to sell. The handwriting was on the wall because it just felt like there was so much negativity out there. I think our problem then, too, was that we gave the players too much, what's the word, freedom to talk to the press. We did not limit how much they could talk. The press could call the players anytime. And once you start that, it's hard to take it back. But I really think that there should be some kind of oversight or let us know what you're going to say type of thing. We didn't do that.
Well, I don't think it could have been done at that time.
It is now, though. Now the players don't. I mean, the players don't say maybe what's on their mind to the press. It seems like they keep things to themselves. I've heard that.
I think that's more a function of what they're taught by their agents.
Yes.
And I think
yes.
all of this flows from the just dynamic increase in their earning capacity and their net worth. I mean, this kind of ties back to a story that I wanted to ask you about. Did Charlie ever talk about the process of contract negotiations with his players?
I heard Dad and Charlie talk about it a lot. A lot of times I didn't pay attention because it was so, I'd heard it a lot.
There was a very, very famous story told by Gene Tennis.
Oh, Gene Tennis, and yes, about the St. Bernard?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Carolyn was there. Carolyn gave him that idea. Carolyn came out from Kansas City. I knew she was. I knew her because when I was little, all I had to do was call and ask to talk to Daddy, and she knew who it was. She answered the phones. And Dad got her to come out here by making her Charlie's personal secretary.
Okay.
So, oh, yeah. I heard. Okay,
well, we shouldn't leave people hanging. We've got to tell them.
Oh, yeah, please tell us.
Oh, well, maybe, Michael, you can tell it. You want to tell it?
Well, as I heard it, and as I remember it, because it was probably 25 years ago that I heard it.
I'll let you know if I hear something that isn't in there. But it was at the Hyatt across from the Coliseum.
Right, and it was the contract negotiation after Tennis had won the World Series MVP award. And he went in and he asked Charlie for a raise, and Charlie didn't want to give him a raise. And this is just being pulled out of thin air, but the number I have in my mind is $17,000.
Okay. I don't.
So
I would have to look that up in Dad's thing. Okay.
It's in that vicinity, just to give people, because we're throwing around $25 million a year contracts now.
Right.
I want people to have just some sense of perspective that it was $17,000 and Tennis went in and asked for $20.
Okay.
And Charlie said, I can't afford that.
That was his stand. Right.
Yes. And Gino said, well, look, I just won the MVP in the World Series. And Charlie said, yeah, you did a great job of that, and they gave you a prize for that, and that's not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Charlie. I was really thinking that I was going to get a raise this year, so I just went out and bought 2 dogs. And they're it's going to be tough on me if I don't get a raise. If you can't give me a raise, will you at least feed my dogs for the year?
Oh, okay. Well, let me interject something. Charlie went out to the hall, to the restroom, or to take a call or something. Carolyn suggested he say that. Yes, Carolyn.
There you go.
Carolyn said, Mr. Finley really likes animals, and she told him what to offer. So keep going.
So it wound up that Charlie agreed to feed the dogs, figuring how much can this be, not knowing that they were 2 St. Bernards, and he wound up spending more feeding the dogs than he would have on the original contract request.
He agreed, and then he asked, what kind of dogs do you have? Oh, that was
and the beauty of all of it was that feeding the dogs was not a legitimate business expense like a contract increase would have been. So he wound up not only feeding the dogs, but taking a tax hit for it besides.
He loved animals. In fact, he had St. Bernards because they scared me to death when I was there on the farm. They were so huge. And my cousins would have to.
You could drown if you're in the wrong spot when they shake.
And they drool so much.
Absolutely.
But that was yes. I remember Carolyn laughing about that with Dad. But he just loved animals. But yeah, he believed that people should work hard for their money, and then he also had the salesman in him. He liked to go back and forth. You ask for one thing, he'll come down, that type of thing. I have a story that one of our coaches' wives told me. She said that Charlie called. This was about maybe 75, and told her husband that he wasn't able to give the coaches any raises that year. And then he asked to talk to the wife, who he really admired. And when she got on the phone, he said, "I'm giving you a raise." So he had, he had second thoughts. He really liked them.
Showing feelings of an almost human nature.
See, that's
well,
that do.
But showing a salesman's knowledge too, knowing that a $500 raise to the coach would be cause for grumbling all year long, but a $500 raise to the wife would give him support behind the scenes all year long.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. He liked her too. He when after the divorce, he had to ask her to do some things for him. Like, for example, they had a bomb threat leaving Boston after the second playoff game to come back out here, and it was rumored that a bomb was going to be put on the wife's bus to the airport. So Charlie asked her to, oversee everything and make sure the wife got on a decoy bus. So just stuff like that.
Now, which coach was that, just out of curiosity?
Okay, that's Weststock.
Weststock. He was
pitching coach. Pitching coach.
He was
and a minor league guru for a long time in the 80s.
I have pictures of their son sitting on Charlie O in Kansas City. Oh,
okay, now you walked Sid Thrift's dog when you lived in...
Jock, yes. 12, yes.
What type of dog was that? Because Sid was a good friend of mine, and his son Jim was a minor league manager and a player, and I happened to have signed Jim to his Topps contract and was very close with Sid later on in his life. What kind of dog did he have? I'm just curious.
I don't think it was a toy poodle. It was, I could hold it in my arms. But I hear toy poodles are really small. Maybe I'm thinking teacup. But see, that's when I got in the elevator with the Black Panthers, who I didn't know were the Black Panthers at the time. They knew poodles. I mean, they were talking about how one of them, how a girlfriend had a teacup poodle, and they were going on and on. I didn't know who they were. Turned out we lived next door to Huey Newton, who was on the FBI.
Oh, Huey knew poodles.
No, he was on the 10-month.
There's never a doubt about that.
But we didn't know it. We knew we had a neighbor, but when I was going up the elevator to take Jacques back to the Segis on the 17th floor, I noticed they pressed the 25th floor, which is the top and where we were. But I just thought, okay, these are the new neighbors. So I took Jacques back, and then I got up to the 25th floor. I didn't see anyone. So I saw they had sweaters on that time. The second time I saw them, they had leather coats on. But I remember when I recognized Huey Newton's picture that Dad brought to the penthouse, and he just looked like a ghost when I told him. They looked sick. That the news was about to break nationwide that they found out where Newton was living, because they were going to do one of those where you send the SWAT team in. They took Dad into the penthouse next to them on the other side, and he saw all the electronics, the recording equipment set up, and he couldn't believe it. So that was all going on our floor.
Exciting times.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, the show's come to an end. I want to thank you very much. You're a great pinch hitter, Michael Duca.
Well, thank you. I'm no Jerry Feitelberg, but
who is, for crying out loud?
in keeping with the dictums of the great Woody Allen, I did show up.
Michael, how do you spell your last name? D-U-C-A?
That's how I spell it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll look you up on Facebook. Or
that's not how very many people spell it, but that is how I spell it.
Well,
everybody tries to make it harder. They throw in unnecessary letters.
Oh, okay. No.
Well, they switch them around. A lot of times that confuses the things as well.
I try to start out simple as possible. So, D-U-C-A.
Yes, ma'am.
No more simple a man than Ralph Zig Tyko.
Oh.
Link of it all on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Thrilled to have both of you, Michael Duca, Nancy Finley.
And Happy New Year, everyone.
Have a wonderful New Year's, both of you, and a great celebration for you tonight with your kids, Michael.
Thank you. Everybody be safe and have fun out there on New Year's, and try and see what it's like without a hangover.
What is the name of your book, Michael? What is the name of your book?
The name of the book is The Baseball Codes.
Baseball
we
Codes.
wanted to call it, yes, I told the publisher we should call it the Da Vinci Codes because you can't copyright a name. And I said, half the people who buy it won't think that it's what it is, but once they've got it home, they'll read it anyway. But they said, no, we have to give it a real name. So we call it the Baseball Codes. And it's a book.
Yeah,
the book that details all the unwritten rules of baseball.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Okay. Thank you for
And, of course, Nancy's book is called, Nancy?
Finley Ball.
That's what the publisher decided. I had the green and the gold.
Well
we had Billy Ball and we've had Money Ball, so we might as well have Finley Ball.
That makes sense. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
And both your books can be found on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And Barnes and Noble.
Yes, Barnes and Noble.
And
maybe independent too, independent bookstores.
Absolutely, you never know. They're independent. They could bring in the best books. They have the right.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Always look. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both. If you're listening out there, I will ask you if you would to box up some lightly used children's books. Take them to the Head Start program in a community that you live, and they'll always be welcome. Get them ready for school, get them focused, get them to have a passion. That's very important. Be well, everybody. If we don't speak, have a very, very happy New Year. Thank you both.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.